Hello and welcome back to the Cascade subdivision for another layout update. It's been about 10 days, just under 2 weeks since the last update, and a lot of things have happened down here in the basement for a variety of reasons. But I was just looking back at the last update that I did and realized that it had been way too long since I had posted an update. I shouldn't say not too long, but too much had happened since my last update, and so this one might run a little longer than usual, but there's a lot to talk about, and so let's get into it right here in the Salmon Creek area and Pope and Talbot Sawmill. So moving the camera a little bit just to get a better view of Salmon Creek, I have started getting ready for terrain work here with the tunnel liners and temporary tunnel portal there. Same thing on the upper end of the helix. This is the entrance to the helix there, and so there's a pair of tunnels that hide that entrance, and the terrain will kind of tie the lower level into the middle level there, just with a smooth transition and a hillside there. But this week, or I should say last week now, good friend Cam Neely, who has the BNSF Plains division on YouTube, is Railfan220. He came over for a work session and operating session, and we worked on the layout for a couple hours on Thursday and a couple hours on Friday, and then operated Friday afternoon. And so he was working in another area of the layout, which we'll get to in just a little bit. I was tackling a lot of the terrain here in Salmon Creek and Pope and Talbot between here and Oak Ridge, and so was able to get the foam basin for Salmon Creek itself. This is just going to curve off to the left. There'll be a little bit of some rapids and eventually just a single span bridge here with some concrete abutments on either side, and then started a lot of the cardboard lattice. And excuse the shakiness of the camera, was able to get a lot of the cardboard lattice in around Pope and Talbot, as well as the track in and painted. And so here in the front here, we've got a wood chip loading track. And in the back, we've got the lumber loading track there, where a few box cars are still spotted after our op session. And as you can see, a lot of the cardboard terrain is in. So I'm going to change the camera angle so you can get a wide angle view of the whole scene and some of the things that I've gotten done. I've taken a few steps back, and here is a nice wide angle view of the whole scene, which looks a lot different than it did a couple days ago. And when Cam was here, I was able to get all of this cardboard in and the foam in, as well as paint the track. And I've already started to get the construction paper terrain level in, and some of that there has a wood glue already applied. The wood glue just kind of is a sealing layer, and makes the construction paper a lot stronger. So a little bit more work back here with construction paper and planning out where the road's going to go and how it disappears into the backdrop. That's just a service road or entrance road into the mill itself. But probably in the next couple of days, later this week, we'll be able to finish the terrain in here. And then as we continue talking about progress, there will be some work that I'll need to do with sculpt mold and planning out some of the roads and just fine-tuning the right-of-way a little bit. But I have run out of sculpt mold, so I'll need to get an order in here shortly. So let's turn the camera again and take a look in Oak Ridge. Here we are looking at the railroad south end of Oak Ridge, and as I had mentioned earlier, finished the track work for the Pope and Talbot spur, and that's all wired and tied into the yard. You'll also notice that the yard is painted, and we'll take a closer look at that here in just a second. But once I got all that terrain in, and along the backdrop here, I've also gotten terrain started, and here's a foam support for a large area that was a large flat area over there. It's easier to just put a piece of foam in. But once I got all the terrain in the yard itself, I came back with a dark gray or a medium gray and a burnt umber, and started painting that just to cover up bare plaster and plywood and give it a more finished look. But a lot of the yard is ready for the initial layer of dirt. I just need to finish up along the backdrop there before I work forward, just because the scene is so deep. So the front of the yard is ready but on hold, and then just a little bit more work back here to do, fine-tuning some of the landforms. But let's take a look at the yard itself, some new rolling stock, and then we'll keep moving our way along the lower level. So I've been working a little bit to update my rolling stock fleet, and have kind of separated cars that are either the wrong prototype, or wrong railroad, or just aren't seen on the Cascade Sub, and I've set them aside and starting selling them on eBay. So if you're interested in some very reasonably priced rail cars, I will put a link to my eBay page below, and I am just getting rid of those and replacing them with cars that are found on the Cascade Sub. And the 60-foot high-Q box car is seen in nearly every train, and so I picked up a couple of these from Lombard's Hobby. These are Walther's mainline cars, which for the price I think are absolutely fantastic, and after some weathering just look great. And given that this is a operating layout, these are very solid cars. I do replace the couplers, and I do add quite a bit of weight with some car wheel weights. Most of the cars on the layout are weighted, and probably would be considered super weighted, as I do add or almost double the weight of a lot of the cars, from 4 to 6 ounces all the way up to 8 to 12 ounces. So it definitely improves rolling, and the locomotives work a little bit harder, but it's worth it. Get a little bit better physics than you would with some of the featherweight cars that are out there. So very excited about these. Very excited to continue to work here in Oak Ridge and finish the yard out. It's one of my goals for this summer to have this yard pretty nearly done scenic wise. A lot of the structures and details won't be in. Those will be future projects, but a lot of the ballast and grass and dirt I know I can get in here in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that, and I think getting this area completed will definitely help the overall feel of completion on the layout. So let's keep moving through Oak Ridge. Here in the railroad north end of Oak Ridge, I just this morning finished up some of the sculpt mold work on some of the terrain that I had been doing, and I actually ran out of sculpt mold working on this back hill. So gonna let that dry and then get ready to put a layer of paint. But getting that back hill done allows me to move my imaginary line of ready for complete scenery all the way up to just this railroad north end of the yard. And then here up front, I went over some existing scenery with another layer of sculpt mold. I have a service access road right along the tracks here, and it just wasn't built up enough, and some of the paper layer below was showing through the dirt, and so I came back, and that'll be easy enough to fix, and I think a worthwhile fix. So let's keep moving. So So now on to some more scenery updates. Continuing progress here on the other side of Tunnel 22, and I finally was able to get this tunnel painted that had been unpainted for quite some time. And while I did that, I also added a few more washes and darkened up the rocks here, and then came back and added a layer of zip texturing dirt just to blend those in a little bit more. So this scene here, or this area here, I've got a little bit more work to do with the ballast down here. But other than that, it is ready for grass and bushes. So that's what I'll be working on here in the coming days. This scene should be transformed pretty significantly, or hopefully is transformed significantly for the next update. But more to come from this area. And then also I will add that I came in and added a few more layers of dirt to increase the color variation here along the service access road. So still have to put the tire tracks back in, but excited for that. And let's take a look at the other side of the tunnel, some of the work I've been doing there. Here we are at the other side of Tunnel 22. And I feel like this has been the longest ongoing scenery project on the layout, and that's probably because it's the only ongoing scenery project on the layout with complete scenery. But yesterday I came back in and removed a lot of the trees, or the pine trees that I had up here that looked like this. These I had made, oh gosh, 5 or 6 years ago. And I just was not pleased with how they kind of looked and wanted a little bit more, I shouldn't say more, I should say a denser forest. And so I made some smaller trees here, some background trees that as individuals aren't the best looking trees in the world, but when you pack them all together, and this whole hillside here will be packed with them, they should look pretty darn good. I also took some super trees material and added some bushes to hide the trunks there and add some verticality, and then did some work along the edge of the fascia here and filled in a lot more along this hillside and down here in this little gully with some more Martin Wellberg bushes and scenery materials. So this scene is nearing completion. Behind me, where the rest of the scene is, that is nearly done. I have been working on adding some grass tufts here, a second layer. I added another layer of dirt along the rocks here, and so just a quick weathering on these rocks and adding some grass tufts along here, and just fixing up this little area right here. Just adding some more weeds and grass and making a little bit more complex scenery than it is right now with just the simple layer of grass and a few bushes. We'll call this scene complete and be able to fully move on to the other side of the hill, or the top and the other side of the hill, and keep scenery moving into Oak Ridge. As I had mentioned, Cam was here last week, and this is the work that he got done during his visit. He started putting in the cardboard lattice and fine-tuned a lot of the track up here in Fields, and so we'll take a look around the corner at some of the other stuff he did. But here's a long shot of a lot of the lattice work that he did, and I will come back in and add the cross members of lattice and add the paper over as well. And now that we've got scenery started up here, I really have to add the LED lights up there. As you can see, the difference between the two levels with and without those LED lighting. And so next couple of days I have all the materials to add those lights, and so I'll get those in as soon as I can. But I am super excited about the work that he did up here, and very motivated to continue working on this scene. And the great thing about the cardboard lattice is that it goes in very quickly, and the materials are easy to find, just hot glue and boxes that aren't going to be used anymore. And all of a sudden you turn empty space with spline into some landforms and some scenery for trains to run through. So very excited about continuing work up here and continuing to progress on the upper level and add more scenery. So let's take a look around the corner at what else Cam was working on. So here we are again, looking kind of a wide angle shot of fields, but Cam got a lot of work done up here, adding some access roads and some of the other features that we kind of discussed and talked about. Some of the unique things that are going on here in fields is the scene is incredibly deep, and so here or on the right hand side, kind of where I'm pointing, the tracks kind of push their way towards the backdrop, giving almost a foot of scenery area right in front of the tracks. And so we've Cam kind of built this up a little bit, and there'll be a nice dense forest view block there to kind of break up the curve, and then the tracks come back towards the fascia away from the backdrop, and there's only 4 or 5 inches between the fascia and the tracks, and so we'll be able to put a nice forested hillside back here, and it's just going to be a unique scene where the tracks kind of go away from the operator and then come back and then go away again here as it exits the scene, and be able to do a lot with viewing angles and working with the trees and rocks and using those natural landforms to help accentuate the viewing experience. So very excited about all the progress that we've gotten done here on the layout this past week or the past 10 days. A lot more to come this coming week. I need to get some supplies in, and but other than that, we're gonna keep progressing as much as we can, and hopefully a lot more to show in the next week or so. So everyone stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Hope that everyone likes this video, and is if not, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe, because there's a lot more great things coming here in the next few weeks. So everyone keep enjoying the summer, and happy modeling.